Hey YouTube, Watkins rapier. I've seen pictures of these before. I remember there was one in the general dealers in the bars. It had for some reason I always remember the switch it had like a mad lever thing to switch the pickups. I don't think it was this model. So these, I don't really know anything about them. It is, I mean, it's a 10 out of 10 for looks guitar. I think it just looks absolutely amazing. This is a bolt-on neck version, and I assume it's got a truss rod. The one I have had one before. I got one. I bought 3 guitars on Gumtree. I think it was Gumtree, and it was a charity shop on the south side. And one of them was an Axel Les Paul, which was really good. So that would probably date it. I think I probably did a video on it, but it was. I bought 3 guitars. I think it was a Strat, an Axel, and something else. And the woman in the shop's like, "Happy, do you want this one as well?" One of these, but didn't look like this. It was all the paint had been stripped off it. Didn't have tuners. Didn't have the scratch plate, the bridge, the pickups, any electrics. It had this bridge which said high and low on it or something like that. That's it. The thing about that one was the serial number on it was stupid low. It was, I think it was in the two, I think it was a 3-digit serial number, and the first one was 0. I think it was like the 18th or the 20th or something like that. A pure stupid early one. And I was looking at it and I was going to restore it, or I figured it would be impossible to get the bits. So I was going to put, humbuckers and modern stuff on it. And I was looking at it, because it was an early one, I was like, someone's probably going to want that. And I think I got 150 quid for it on eBay. So I never actually played one of these. I've got this one in for, there was a wire off, basically. the electrics were a wee bit iffy. So I've sorted that out now. Did a wee bit of work, just kind of setting up so it plays a bit better. Yeah, so, hear it. So this one has 4 pickups. This is the 44. Just the 4, not 44 pickups. These are made in Japan pickups, which I don't think they all have. I had a wee. I was going to look and see if I could find out what it was, but it's a bit of a minefield with the Watkins rapiers. There's lots of them for years. I've no idea even where this is from. I thought 60s, possibly late, maybe early 70s, something like that. Don't really know. Made in England, it says on the back of it, even though the pickups say Japan on them. It's got some really cool features though. I love the colour. It might look the colour, lighting on YouTube, and it always looks really funny. I don't know, is it even focused on me? But I've got a red jumper, so it might be Fiesta red. It's orange, I think. Anyway, I'm going for an orange. Am I out of focus? Is it my eyes? Maybe something to do with the light. Anyway, so 4 pickups, 3 Les Paul type toggles, which is it's the sort of wiring I would do if I had an abundance of Les Paul toggles. I quite like the way this is laid out though. So this one's says below, this is switch A, and it says it's 1 and 2, so it's 1 and 2, and this one is switch B, which is 3 and 4, and this switch here is A and B, which actually makes sense. So basically these 2 pickups, they're actually numbered here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Isn't that a good idea? I don't know why no one ever did that before. They're like written in this, printed into the scratch plate. So between 1 and 2, you've got a switch here, so you can have 1, 2, or both. 3 and 4, you can have 3, 4, or both. And this one gives you A and B, so you can, if you just want to listen to the neck pickup, you select 1, and then you choose switch A, and then that's you the neck pickup. If you want the bridge pickup, you select 4, and then select B. And if you put that in the middle, you get these 2, so you can get lots of combinations relatively logically worked out, which I've never seen on any other guitar. It seems to make sense, though. Yeah. So I measured the scale length. My computer just cut off for some reason, decided to turn it, so I'm quite worried about it. I hope it lasts this time. Yeah, so it's a 24 and a bit inch scale, so kind of duosonic. Not full scale. A Gibson's 24 3/4 and a Fender's 25.5 generally. So, with exceptions, obviously. But so it's kind of a slightly shorter scale. It's got a 0 fret. And so the nut is not a nut. Well, it's a nut to stop the strings sliding off the edge of the fretboard, but it's got a 0 fret, which I like. It's got a tremolo, which is got it's really funky looking. I mean, it looks amazing. I don't know if you can see it. It's got like it's a really arty looking cool thing, and it actually works quite well. The bridge is just it's just a metal bar basically on 2 screws. So you've got total height adjustment, but there's no intonation. You just don't have intonation. I think this is probably from the era of thicker strings, like before you could bend strings kind of thing. I think maybe having a wound G would maybe make it better, because acoustics seem to do okay without having intonable saddles. So it's kind of like, there's always going to be a bit of a compromise. There's no adjustment overall intonation either, so it's kind of funny. So I'll turn it on. So this is A1. This pickup. Why is it not decided not to try and focus on me today? With the tremolo, it might just put it out of tune. It's actually quite. I don't really generally like tremolos very much. It's kind of, but I quite like this one. It's very sensitive. I'll try and do extreme bends towards the end of the video, when if it goes out of tune, it doesn't matter. And then if you go to the bridge pickup, a bit of a rat pedal probably, maybe a fuzz pedal, be a bit more like it. I see a guitar like this and I think, fuzz pedal. All 4 pickups on. Yeah. What I'm struggling with a little bit here, it doesn't have dots on the edge of the fingerboard, which I do like. So this is it's a bit of a mixed bag for me. It's kind of one of those guitars I always wanted. Like I said at the start, I saw one in the general dealer and I kind of always thought, oh, it looks really cool. It's a bit quirky. I'll go for the quirky thing. So I've had some guitars that are actually quite like this that don't look anything like as good. Like the wee Sakai built ones, sometimes called Audition and Top 20 and stuff like that from this era. Sort of, I think they were kind of maybe late 70s, early 80s. This one could be a bit earlier than that. And it's a bit disappointing, really, for how cool it looks. The thing is that, see, if it sounded and played these, like, not this particular model, the kind of issues I've got with this guitar are not so much, it's not this one. I mean, the frets are quite, they're not bad, they're still there and stuff, and it's got all the bits. I mean, I've seen most of these, I think I've got most of the bits missing. Even things like these knobs look original. Actually, I see a wee bit of what looks like residue from stickers on top of the volume and the tone knobs, which I think it maybe had a wee badge on it or something like that. Maybe it didn't. Like I said, I did have a wee look 10 minutes before I came on. That's quite interesting. Yeah, so it's actually got a laminate neck, a 2-part neck. So it's like two strips of wood going next to each other on the back with an extra piece. You know, there's a wee tiny extra bit there. I don't know if you can really see it, but just to make it that wee bit bigger. You know, so it's obviously, you put two pieces of wood on like this, and then the bits that aren't in a straight line, this extra bit like you get on, it's very obvious in some Strat copies, this bit here stuck on, you know, the end bit. If you take it in a straight line, it's the same piece of wood, but it's got this bit stuck on, it's got a wee tiny bit stuck on there that's maybe 3 or 4 millimeters wide. You just think, how much did he actually save rather than actually doing it in one piece? But a couple of things. It's like the non-intonable bridge is kind of like a sort of no. What I'd like an intonable bridge if that was possible. This is a different time zone though. Also, these pickups are Japanese pickups. They say Japan on the back of them. I have seen these in other guitars. So, and if you look up other rapiers, they've got toaster type pickups. So I think maybe this is maybe a later one or an early one. I don't really know how that works. What's the serial number? It's a 5-digit one. Made in England. Yes. So the thing about these pickups is, see if you look at them, I don't know. You're not really going to see, are you? You can see there, they're curved. Right, they're curved to suit a very, very radiused fingerboard, a very tight radius fingerboard, which this doesn't. It's got a bit of a radius on it. No, I can actually just check that. I'm going to say it's probably a 7 1/4. I do have radius gauges here just to check it out. I didn't bother weighing it, but I did measure the scale length on it when I wasn't sure that. Those ones there. I think 7.25. Is that a 7.25 radius? I think that might actually be as low as these gauges go. Yeah, so it's got a 7.25 radius vintage Strat thing. The bridge itself is definitely not a 7.25 radius. The pickups so the pickups and the neck are both 7.25 radius. The bridge is like I don't know. We go try a 10. See if it's a 10. You're seeing where I'm going with this, yeah. So the bridge is flatter than that. What's the next one up? A 12. I think so. Sort of, maybe slightly more than a 12. So there is one of my initial things which I find disappointing about this guitar is 12-inch radius there, right, on the bridge, non-adjustable. So 7.25 pickups and 7.25 neck, which means that when you set it up, like as much as you can, no matter how you set it up, the middle strings are always going to be closer to the frets than the outer strings. And the pickups are the same, so the middle strings are always going to be closer to the pickups, therefore louder than the outer strings, which is just one of those ones where it's like being a guitar nut, as you can see. That's quite annoying. So that, combined with the fact that it's completely unadjustable this way or that way and all the strings are the same length, puts it into that quirky category I was talking about, when it's not really, it doesn't really compare to a modern guitar. I think I've got a funny feeling they reissued these recently. I'd imagine they've sorted that. So I mean, if you're going for the looks, I wonder if one of the reissues might be really quite good. But I love the idea that this is like a 60s thing and it's a British classic, and you always hear about all these people who started out on them. You know, I don't know if Hank Marvin had one, but you know, folk like that, Richie Blackmore, not Hendrix, you know, any British, Clapton and all that probably had one of these at some point. But it really kind of goes to show like this whole thing when the Les Paul came out, because I kind of never really understood why everyone loved Les Pauls so much. I mean, I don't really have any of all the guitars I've got here. I think are better than Les Pauls. They're not brilliant, but they're a different era from this. It's like a, you know, it's a horse and cart versus a car type thing. It's like they're just not. As far as modern guitars go, it can't really compete. I mean, you're really talking about buying the cheapest Squier. I was going to say the cheapest Epiphone there, but that Epiphone SL's crap. But the cheapest, you know, is it Squier Bullet or something like that? There's no way that one of these is ever, any of them are ever going to play as good as you can make a Squier Bullet Mustang play. It's not happening, unless you're going to go on about replacing elements, the bridge, you know, the pickups, bits and things. So it's kind of a funny one. So I'm quite pleased in some ways I never bought one. because it's more of a curio. Hang it on the wall, 10 out of 10. It looks better than a lot of the guitars I've got, just because it's so cool. But it's one of those ones that, see, if it was good, Jack White would have played one. Well, he's American. Whoever the equivalent is, you would have seen them kicking about and people would play them and they'd be more desirable. Now I think they're a bit more quirky. Yes, you can play them, but they do need a bit of a, you're not churning out Slayer on this. Whereas you can easily churn out Slayer on a Telecaster. I'm not sure that having. So that's the 4. That's the bridge pickup on its own. I'm playing through the orange amp, which is TH30, and I've got a reverb pedal on, but no other effects. The tuners are still there, so they must be quite good. They're very, I think, just going by the era again, they're very highly geared, lowly geared, whatever way around. It's like when you're tuning up, it doesn't take an awful lot of turns to get this, because I've had the neck off, obviously, strings off to get, so I could fix the electrics. It doesn't take a lot of turns to get it from off to tight. I mean, so it would be like a 18-1 would be like, is what some tuners say in the back of them. So that would be 18 turns to get 1 turn. These would be like 10-1, something like that. As in very pure, I'll just move that a wee bit. Woo! It's like quite difficult. But it's such an interesting thing. I mean, and you get this whole thing, the thing about the intonation, I kind of understand, because if a guitar's an imperfect machine, that's why, see, if you ever, I remember my pal sampling a guitar into he'd a Roland Phantom keyboards, and he sampled the guitar into it and he was playing it, and it didn't really sound like a guitar, even though he'd sampled a guitar, so it was guitar sounds. If you hit one note, it totally sounded like it. But the thing is, like, a keyboard is in tune all the way up, whereas a guitar isn't. It's not when you're running your way up there. That's not a perfect F. If that's a perfect E, that's not a perfect F. That's not a perfect F sharp. It's like a compromise thing as you're working your way up, because it doesn't quite divide up quite as easily as it would make it look, depending on the thickness of your strings. You can do it with one string, but when you get the other strings, you'd end up with, if you ever seen Steve Vai's guitar with the frets are sort of like that shape, that one probably does do that. But part of the joy, and the same as well, if you look at like a Telecaster, which only has 3 saddles for the 6 strings, you can never really intonate the 2 middle strings perfectly, so you kind of have to, the D and the G strings, because you've only got 1 saddle for them, you do get compensated saddles. But if you've got like a flat saddle, which was good enough for so many players, you kind of have to set it so one of them's a bit sharp and one of them's a bit flat as a sort of compromise, which gives it character and a bit of vocalness to it. If you ever listen to, like, once the autocorrect thing, when you hear someone use the autocorrect, or you use like an AI to sing something, it doesn't have any character whatsoever, because it's absolutely perfect. And absolutely perfect is not musically pleasing to your ears. So there are places for these sort of things. Not in a Black Sabbath band or a heavy metal band or anything like that, but there are places where this could be exactly what you're after. Maybe for recording. And I'll put a wee bit of just overdrive on. If you think about it from the era this was about, I mean, distortion was a bad thing. So any amp you got was meant to be clean. This guitar was meant to be clean. Distortion was like pure, I think your amp's broken, mate, kind of thing. It's kind of distorting, so it's not really meant to have distortion pedals and stuff like that in it, or even an overdriven amp. It's meant to be clean. So I would kind of class this in the as I said, I've said it about 5 times so far in this video. The quirky section, kind of in with the Dan Electros. And the wee kawais and sakais and the kawais and the additions and all that, even though it does look absolutely rocking. So I'm going to see what the top. I'll put on a bit more. I'll go for the rat pedal and then see if I can do any. It's a good tremolo arm. That's what to say. I don't know how long it'll hold though. Woo! I mean that's real Floyd Rose type depth that goes to. It's a really nice responding tremolo. I wonder if you can actually get one of these on its own. I bet you can't because everyone will want one for their Watkins rapier. But I mean, I quite. And it goes up. Not very much. Only one note. Okay, it does do 2 notes. Almost exactly, that's be full pull, so you can go up exactly 1 note and you can go down. It's actually kind of holding not too bad. I might make this video incredibly long again. I didn't really mean it. I think I probably repeated myself a couple of times. It really, it's quite difficult because I just do these videos, wing them all the time. So because I got 10 minutes into it the first time before the computer decided to turn off. See, I'm not hearing any intonation issues, considering I know that it can't be intoned because it doesn't have any intonation. go for the really loud Sabbath pedal then. I've got echo on there as well. Take the tone off. Turning the tone down, turns down the fuzz. Sound quite good in that thing. It's amazing how a guitar just makes you want to try and play a certain way, and that's me trying to do 60s psychedelic freakout, even though I don't really know how to play 60s psychedelic freakout. That's kind of what I was thinking it's going there. So I suppose, how in tune is it now? Not miles away from being out of tune, very quiet now. Anyway, yes, so Watkins rapier, or Wilson rapier, I think this might be a... It doesn't say Watkins on it, it does say rapier on the headstock though, so it definitely is one. So, summary, not being the 5-minute video this was meant to be, quirky, looks amazing, love the tremolo. I don't normally. I just assumed I would think this was absolutely shit, the tremolo, but actually I really quite like it. I don't know. It seems it's a wee bit like a bit like a Caller. Actually, it's that idea. I know this because of the one I had before. So the springs are kind of somehow. I don't know. I can't remember exactly how it works, but it just sits in below this. So there's some sort of springy thing somehow inside this, but it feels really good. It's really responsive and boingy and very. So I like the tremolo. I hate the bridge. I want a proper bridge on it. Build quality is not. It's not a modern guitar. You know, these things are definitely handmade as opposed to and churned out. So handmade and cheap. You can imagine, you know, the Hank Marvin fans kicking about, because I know that Hank Marvin's Fiesta Red, probably why it's this colour. Obviously want to play the shadows and stuff like that. Quite a big difference between this and what even we would class as a, you know, like a Squire Stratocaster. It's a different league to an actual Strat. Very, very light. I suppose I'll wait, as I learnt before. The strap and the lead can add quite a bit on it, because the strap and the lead puts my Corker guitar there over 4 kilograms. So I'm going to guess this is coming in rather light. Going to be more than 3. It's going to be 3.2. Sorry if you're new here. I always try and guess. I'm going to guess this. It's 3.2 kilograms. Hanging it on a tuner. Oh, I should have left the strings on. It's 2.9. 2.93. So under 3 kilograms. So a very lightweight guitar. But I can just see. I do see uses for it. And it's a beautiful little. It's very tactile. I love the body shape. It's one of those ones that maybe but it's a funny scale length, isn't it? I'm sitting there wondering if there was some way of getting one, like a cheap one that was done in, because I do love the body. So I could maybe just draw around it. I'm sure the owner wouldn't mind if I drew around it, maybe try and make one. But I'll make a modern guitar, but make it this shape. And then, I don't know, some of the 60s items on it. I mean, I didn't really put it up to the tune before, because I can't talk and let you see it. Is it coming up? There we go. You can see the numbers, the switch A, switch B, and what they do. And it's an interesting control scheme. It's not one it's not super quick for bending it through, for, you know, I'll just quickly switch between two sounds. It's like, oh, no, there we go. I suppose you would just remember, just fidget with them. Not super impressed with it. Really, does it really need the 4 pickups? For sounds and practicality, no. For looks, yes. But it doesn't really seem to make the best two pickups are these two. So if you get I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say there's a Rapier 22, which may just have these two pickups. That's the sounds you would need, or if these pickups all work, but if 2 of them didn't, then you would just, if you had those 2, you wouldn't really miss them. I don't think that much, because they're more for look than anything else. Yeah. So an interesting one. So I know there'll be a lot of Watkins Rapier fans. I don't know if any of them will have got this far into the video and they'll be able to tell me when this one's from and that I'm wrong about many things, possibly. But yeah, interesting. I'm glad I shot of it. Cheers for the shot of it, Edward. I'm really it's like one of those bucket list ones. I think I had a quick look on Reverb and eBay there. It's like 600 quid, which is expensive for a guitar. It's more than I spend on guitars, but if this had been like a Fender from the 60s, it would be from the 60s. It would probably be 100 times more expensive. It's going to be 20 grand or something in it for a 60s Fender, and 600 quid. So there's your difference in what it is you're getting. It's got all the mojo and all the looks, and it's quirky, and you can use it, but you're not going to be getting a super versatile. It can do anything, you know what I mean? A Strat can do, you know, you get Iron Maiden or you get Hank Marvin and everything in between. Whereas this does 60s psychedelic garage funk fuzz. 60s fuzz psychedelic. I don't know if it would do funk particularly well. Maybe you'd get away with it. Well, I mean, I think it's one of those things you can do anything with it. You know, if you've got like an EQ pedal and you set your amp up a certain way and you just spend a wee bit more time playing it. It's not super, there's a wee bit of a skill to playing it. You have to kind of be a little bit lighter with it and a bit more direct, the same as all of these sort of this type of in the quirky guitar range, rather than, oh, you could just batter out anything, you know what I mean? If you've got a Strat, you can strum it like an acoustic, it kind of works. This one, you kind of, if you do that. Yeah, so Watkins Rapier 44. In fact, I'll just do my my thumbnail at the end. I normally do it at the start. It's not really not maybe. I don't know how to do a psychedelic thing. Anyway, like and subscribe and catch you later. And if you've watched this at all, I would really appreciate the sub, because I'm coming up to 4,000 subs, which is like pure amazing. It wasn't actually this T-shirt I got the day that I got 400 subs in China on a roof in China, so you can find that video as well when I got these T-shirts. And I was like, I can't believe 400 people watched the vid or subbed, and it's now get 4,000. I think it was maybe 5 years ago or something like that. I'm not. You can obviously tell if you're new here that I don't pander to no algorithms and all that, so YouTube doesn't like me. Although somebody actually did just comment earlier on, go like, Rapier, I don't know what algorithm got me here, but I'm here and it's great, like Rapier. So if you could share it with something, I don't know. But anyway, yes. So Watkins Rapier, I'm not sure. I think Edward said he might actually sell this. I'm not sure. So it might be on eBay or something, or Reverb. I just feel, in some ways, a bit disappointed by it, because in person, I mean, I thought these looked cool anyway, but as soon as I open the case, it's like, whoa, it looks pure amazing, and I totally give it that. It looks absolutely stunning. I just wish it's not a super expensive mega pro level guitar. None of them are. It's just it can't be. Argue in the comments if you want, but you're not going to put that up against one of my Japanese 80s guitars, where like a modern pro level guitar, because it's not what it is. It's not what it's meant to be. What it's meant to be is not necessarily a beginner's guitar, but a quirky thing. I can totally see it. I can see it. If you're coming out, I can imagine you're going to get a sound out of this. If you're recording and you're in, I can't think of a 60s garage psychedelic type band, one of your cool bands, something like this is going to be pure kick ass. Rock on. Catch you later.